Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another IntyCenter for our whip around for Deuce as we are rapidly approaching the playoffs. And for anybody who thought that the Sandlot regular season title was wrapped up, let me tell you right now, this is probably the time to think that. And for anyone who thinks they know which two teams are going to claim the final two wild card spots in Accurate Link of the Star Destroyer, well, I'll tell you right now, any definitive proclamation is going to feel foolhardy. Let's start this week at the top of Sandlot. Scythia of Ostenard taking on San Diego Surfers. A 17-hit offensive explosion powers Scythia in game one. Deacon White has 3 hits, including a homer. Paul Hines also homer. And Scythia takes that opener 11-5. There's not nearly as much offense in game two. Stan the Man has an RBI single in the third to put Scythia up 1-0. Grasshopper Jim scores on a passed ball in the seventh to double the lead. Shohei Ohtani gets an RBI single in the eighth to cut the lead to 2-1. That knocks Whitney out of the game. But Bill Foster comes in. He strikes out the pinch hitting Albert Bell. He gets the pinch hitting Mark McGwire to ground out. That gets him out of a 2-on, 1-out jam. And then he gets a 1-2-3 ninth inning. He gets the save. He secures that 2-1 win for the visitors. Scythia was looking for the sweep. They sent Bob Gibson to the mound. Gibson goes 7 1/3. He gives up 1 run on 6 hits. Nap LaJoie had 3 ribbies. Tip O'Neill continued his recent hot streak. He had 2 ribbies. Scythia win that one 8-3. They do sweep the series, and they have now won 8 straight games. But even with that hot streak, could they make up any ground on the Birmingham Shack Barons? Well, Slim Jones gets knocked out in the 5th inning of the opener against Game of Throws. He gives up 5 runs on 7 hits. Howard Baker and Cap Anson each homered off Jones, and Throws take that opener 8-5. Hal Newhouser and Van Mungo combined to allow just 2 runs on 4 hits in the second game of the series. Sherry McGee had a double and a triple, and McVeigh drove in a pair of runs, and Game of Throws took that second game 5-2. Now, in the finale, both teams start off hot at the plate. The Throws, they get consecutive RBI singles in the top of the first to take a 3-0 lead. But the Shacks answer with a Ted Williams sac fly and an RBI single from Shoeless Joe. It's going to put us at 3-2. Archie Vaughn adds a sac fly in the 5th against his old team that pushes the lead for the Kings of the North to 4-2. And that's our scores we head into the 9th. Top of the 9th, RBI singles from Mule Suttle and Jackass Hansen extend the lead. A 2-out single from Fred Clark scores another, but the final out gets made at third on an 8-3-5 putout. That ends the inning at 7-2. Keep that in mind. It could be big. We'll find out. Jack Clements, he uses the power of hemorrhoids to hit a 1-out, 2-run pinch hit homer to make it 7-4. But Van Mungo retired John McGraw and Ross Barnes to close out. The Game of Throws win 7-4. They sweep the Barons, and with those 2 results combined, Scythia of Ostenard are now the leaders of Sandlot by a single game. Let's do the rest of our look around Sandlot for the playoff picture. Now, we already know that the Surfers got swept by Scythia. Can the brand new ball players take advantage? Well, Patrick Corbin goes 7 2/3 innings, giving up 1 run on 6 hits. That helps them grab a 4-1 win over Atlanta in the opener. Robin Roberts tosses a complete game 4-hitter, giving up 1 run in the second game as the brand new ball players win that one 3-1. The finale was dramatic. Atlanta got a pair of RBI singles in the top of the 9th. That breaks a 2-2 tie, only for Pudge Rodriguez to hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 9th to send us to extra innings. In the top of the 10th, Mike Tiernan singles home Lou Brock, but Rogers Hornsby gets thrown out at third to end the inning. Would that make an opening for brand new ball players? Not one they could take advantage of. Bruce Sutter makes that just a footnote. He sends down the ball players in order. He strikes out Buster Posey to end the game. And with that 5-4 win, Atlanta prevents the sweep. So our Sandlot playoff picture is Scythia up by a game on the Shack Barons. Demon Bags looking like they're pretty much locked into that number 3 spot after they dropped 2 out of 3 to Jolly Roger. And the Surfers, They hold a 3-game lead over the ball players. Each of those teams has 6 left to play. It ain't over, but it's almost over. Let's take it over to accurate length of a Star Destroyer now. And neither Amazings nor Albuquerque could garner a sweep in their head-to-head series, and that means that they have effectively eliminated each other. Hall of Famer Rod Carew homered in the opener as Amazings got 10 runs on 14 hits for a 10-2 victory. Bob Feller tossed a complete game in the middle game. He gave up 2 runs on 4 hits. Albuquerque won that one 7-2. The Feller fans 10 Amazings on the day. Then Amazings in the finale score 2 in the top of the ninth. That counters the 2 they give up in the bottom of the ninth. Robin Yount strikes out with a tying run on base. Amazings take the rubber match 5-4. Neither of those teams mathematically officially eliminated, but it doesn't look good for either of them. Now, performance enhancers. They got the results they needed in this set. They start with Tarek Skubal going 8 innings, giving up 1 run on 4 hits. They get a 5-1 win in the opener. Kid Nichols went the distance in game 2. He gave up 1 run on 6 hits. Al Simmons homered in that one, and the enhancers won 6-1. And then Old Hoss tossed a complete game of his own in the finale. He gives up 2 runs on 9 hits. Ernie Lombardi and Honus Wagner each drove in a pair of runs, and the enhancers get the sweep with a 4-2 win. The Bandwagoners got a rain-assisted positive start to their series, beating the Gales in a 7-inning affair. Tom Seaver gave up 1 run on 3 hits and drove in 2 runs with a triple. The Bandwagoners win that one 2-1. The rest of the series, though, did not go the way of the Bandwagoners. A Justin Morneau 2-run homer was worth more than what the Bandwagoners got the entire game, as they dropped a 5-1 decision to Lefty Grove in the second game. And then Toad Ramsey. It's not the year of the Toad, but this was a good day for Toad. He tossed a 4-hit shutout. The Gales win the rubber match, and they severely dinged the Bandwagoners' playoff hopes. But folks, the main event this week was Let's Play 2 versus New York State of Mound. And if this was a playoff preview, let's all hope that every game in the playoff series plays out like these 3 games did. Even admitting that if that happens, it's going to take a few years off of Tom's life. Game 1, we were tied in the top of the 8th inning. Game 1, top of the 8th inning. Let's Play 2 is up 2-1. Pete Hill, remember that name. Pete Hill scores on a throwing error, and we are now tied at 2. George Brett singles to put runners on the corners with 2 outs, but then Brett is picked off of first base to end the inning. We stay tied at 2-2 all the way until the 15th inning, when Billy Hamilton drew a 1-out walk, moved to second on a sac bunt, and then scores on a George Scales single. John Smoltz, who's the 4th state of Mounder to take the mound, worked a 1-2-3 15th for the save and a 3-2 win for the visitors. Game 2, similar script. Once again, Let's Play 2 leads this one 2-1 late. And once again, New York State of Mound tied it up. This time it's the 8th inning, and it was once again Pete Hill. This time he delivers a sac fly that scores Hamilton. We wouldn't need 15 innings this time or any extra innings. That's because Mike Schmidt hits an absolute, no doubt about it, walk-off 2-run homer in the 9th. That's going to send Let's Play 2 to a 4-2 victory. What would these 2 do in the finale? Well, for starters, they'd have a lot more offense. And for conclusion, they'd have another walk-off. It's the Pete Hill show all over again. Pete Hill tied it up late for the 3rd game in a row. He gets an RBI single in the 8th. That ties it up at 5. And then, in a bit of a bonehead move with 1 out, Billy Hamilton caught a fly ball that was plenty deep enough, but in foul territory, to score Johnny Bench and give the 6-5 win to Let's Play 2. He could have let that bounce in foul territory and let the game continue on. Catching it almost certainly enabled that sac fly to be the game winner. And I'm going to be honest, if Hamilton starts texting about Dominican cockfighting or hanging out with Otani's translator, that kind of finish might raise eyebrows and cause an investigation. So here's our picture in accurate length of a Star Destroyer. While the State of Mound's lead did shrink a little bit, they are still on pace to top the standings. The Gales of November look like they are locked into that number 2 seed. And there is one game in the loss column separating the bandwagoners, the enhancers, and Let's Play 2. Two of those teams are going to make the playoffs. One of them's not. They're going to miss it in agonizing fashion. Good luck figuring out who that is. We got 2 series left in the regular season for all the teams. There's plenty to play for. And we'll get to that next time on IntyCenter with our next whip around, FODEUSS.